Have you ever wondered why some women seem to effortlessly command respect, affection, and commitment, while others feel like they're constantly chasing it? It's not about beauty, charm, or even what you say. It's about the mindset you carry when you walk into a room, into a conversation, into a relationship. Because men don't just react to what you do, they respond to who you are. When you shift your mindset, everything shifts. The way he looks at you, the way he speaks to you, the way he decides how seriously he takes you. This isn't about manipulation, it's about embodiment. When a woman carries herself with the right internal belief, the external world, especially the men in it, treat her differently. Let's talk about that mindset. Let's uncover why some women effortlessly inspire devotion while others struggle to be seen, and how you can become the kind of woman a man doesn't just want but deeply respects. Men may be drawn in by what they see, but they stay because of how you make them feel. That's a truth most people overlook. We live in a world that teaches women to focus so much on appearance, on the perfect outfit, the right makeup, the curated version of themselves, that they forget the real power lies in how they carry themselves emotionally. Physical attraction can start a conversation, but emotional standards determine how long that conversation lasts. It's easy to think that setting boundaries means just saying no when something physical feels wrong. But the women men respect most aren't just protecting their bodies, they're protecting their energy, their peace, their self-worth. When a woman truly understands her value, she no longer allows herself to be impressed by empty charm or surface-level attention. She's not flattered by a good morning text from someone who has no real intention of investing in her. She's not available just because someone feels lonely that day. She doesn't answer every call, return every message, or make room in her life for people who haven't earned it. Not because she's playing games, but because she honors herself too much to allow inconsistency near her. And this mindset sends a powerful message to men. If you want space in my world, show up fully. Don't just appear when it's convenient. Be real, be consistent, be intentional. Men rise or they walk away. And either outcome is a win. When a woman has emotional standards, she stops chasing the idea of potential. She stops making excuses for someone's lack of effort. She stops convincing herself that mixed signals are a form of mystery instead of a clear sign of indecision. She's not bitter, she's wise. She's learned that love isn't supposed to feel confusing. The interest doesn't need interpretation, and that true connection isn't something you have to beg for. There's a calm power in a woman who knows what she brings to the table. She's not rude, she's not harsh, she's just clear. And clarity is magnetic. Men notice this. Even if they don't always say it out loud, they feel it. They sense that you won't tolerate breadcrumbs, that you won't chase someone who isn't matching your energy, that you're not desperate for attention, you're selective with your presence. That difference changes everything. The men who were just looking for a casual distraction, they fall away quickly. They know they can't dance around a woman who sees through inconsistency. But the men who are ready for depth, the ones who want to build something real, they lean in closer. They listen differently. They speak with more intention. They don't just try to impress, they try to understand. Because they know they're not dealing with someone who's trying to get love. They're dealing with someone who is love, who shows up with a full heart, a full life, and a sense of purpose that existed long before any relationship. And that is incredibly attractive. What emotional standards really say is, I know what I deserve. I know what healthy love looks like. And I'm not afraid to wait for it. Not in a passive way, not in a stubborn way, but in a confident, grounded, graceful way. It's not about shutting men out. It's about letting the wrong ones exit quickly and the right ones enter with clarity. And here's the most important part. This isn't about having walls. It's about having discernment. You can be open, kind, warm, and still have standards that protect your emotional well-being. You can be soft and strong at the same time. That combination, that's what leaves an impression. That's what makes a man sit up and say, she's different. Because you're not trying to be chosen. You're not waiting to be validated. You've already chosen yourself. And when that happens, a man can either step up and meet you at your level, or step aside and make room for someone who will. The most powerful thing a woman can do is decide what kind of energy she allows into her life. Not with bitterness, not with ego, but with quiet certainty. When you stop asking, does he like me? And start asking, is he showing up in a way that matches my standards? You shift the power dynamic entirely. You become the one choosing, not the one hoping to be chosen. That shift is everything. Because the truth is, men respect women who respect themselves. They're drawn to the ones who are rooted in something deeper than fleeting attraction. The ones who have the courage to walk away from attention that doesn't lead to connection. The ones who don't lose themselves trying to keep someone else interested. When you protect your emotional space, you don't just change how you feel, you change how people treat you. You train the world and the men in it to either rise to your standard or remove themselves entirely. And the beautiful part is, you don't have to demand anything. Your energy, your presence, your mindset, those things speak louder than words ever could. So if you want to know why some women are treated like options and others like priorities, look past the surface. Look at how they treat themselves. Because men don't just follow beauty, they follow energy. And when your energy says, I know who I am, I know what I deserve, and I'm not afraid to walk alone if that's what it takes, the right man won't let you. He'll rise, or he'll be replaced by someone who will. Confidence is one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. But not all confidence is created equal. Some people confuse confidence with arrogance, with the need to prove themselves or belittle others to feel powerful. But real confidence is quiet. It's steady, it doesn't shout, and it certainly doesn't need to tear anyone down to feel strong. There's something undeniably captivating about a woman who knows her worth and doesn't feel the need to apologize for it. She walks into a room and without saying a word, people notice her presence. Not because she's loud, not because she's trying to take up space, but because she already owns her space within herself. Men respond to this kind of woman differently, not because she's aggressive or intimidating, but because she carries a calm certainty that changes the tone of every interaction. She doesn't seek approval, and she doesn't play small to make someone else feel big. She communicates her standards clearly, but with grace. She says no without needing to explain. She speaks the truth without needing to raise her voice. And when she sets boundaries, it doesn't come from a place of punishment, it comes from a place of self-respect. That's the kind of confidence that commands attention, not by demanding it, but by embodying it. And here's the key: she doesn't carry that confidence to put anyone else down. She's not dismissive, she's not sarcastic, she doesn't weaponize her strength to gain control. That's not confidence. That's insecurity in disguise. Real confidence allows room for others to shine too. It's the kind of presence that says, I know who I am, and I'm not in competition with you. When a woman brings that energy into a connection with a man, it disarms him in the best way. He feels respected, but also challenged, not through judgment, but through integrity. He knows he's not dealing with someone who needs to be impressed. He's dealing with someone who's already whole. That shifts everything. There's a beautiful balance in a woman who can be strong without being cold, who can be assertive without being rude, who can be self-assured without becoming superior. That balance is rare, and men recognize it immediately. It's easy to mistake strength for harshness, to think you need to be blunt or guarded to be taken seriously. But the most powerful women are the ones who remain kind even when they say no, who can maintain their standards without making someone feel small. Because they're not reacting, they're choosing. They're grounded. And that calm, centered energy creates safety. It creates respect. It inspires admiration, not just attraction. Confidence without contempt is what turns chemistry into connection. It's what separates fleeting interest from long-term devotion. A man might be intrigued by a woman who plays games or appears emotionally unavailable, but he'll be drawn into something deeper by the woman who holds herself with dignity. The one who's real, the one who's clear, the one who doesn't hide behind bravado, but instead leads with self-awareness. When you know your worth, you don't need to prove it. You simply live it. And when someone steps into your life, you invite them into a space of mutual respect, not a power struggle. This mindset changes the way men approach you. It makes them more thoughtful with their words, more deliberate with their actions, because they understand, maybe without even realizing it, that they're not just engaging with your beauty or your charm. They're engaging with someone who has a deep, unshakable sense of self. And here's what makes it even more powerful. This kind of confidence isn't loud. It's in the little things. It's in how you hold eye contact without flinching, how you walk away when your values are compromised, how you stay soft in a world that tells you to be hardened, how you listen to understand, not just to respond. It's in your grace, your patience, your ability to know what you want and not settle for anything less. Men feel that. They may not be able to put it into words, but they notice. They notice when you don't chase, when you don't over-explain, when you don't beg to be understood. They notice when your silence speaks louder than arguments, when your calm says more than your anger ever could. And the right men don't just respect it, they're inspired by it. They rise to meet it. They step into a version of themselves that's more intentional, more grounded, more present. because they see that you don't just demand more, you inspire more. That's the magic of confidence without contempt. It doesn't seek control, it creates alignment. It doesn't posture, it attracts. It doesn't overpower, it empowers. And here's the truth, when you truly embody that energy, you don't have to worry about pushing the wrong people away. They were never meant to stay. The people who belong in your life will not only respect your confidence, they'll be drawn to it. They'll see it as an invitation to grow, to deepen, to rise into something real. Because at the end of the day, confidence isn't about who talks the loudest, who wins the argument, or who plays the game better. It's about who remains honest, who remains kind, and who refuses to abandon themselves in order to be accepted. That kind of woman, she doesn't have to chase respect. She is respect. There's a common misconception that emotional detachment means you don't care, that you're cold, guarded, or unavailable. But true emotional detachment is none of those things. It's not the absence of feeling, it's the presence of clarity. It's not pushing people away, it's not clinging to them when they don't align with your peace. A woman who is emotionally detached in the healthy sense isn't empty. She's full of her own understanding, full of boundaries, full of a quiet strength that doesn't need to control or be controlled. She's not looking for someone to complete her or validate her. She's already centered within herself. And that internal stability, that grounded energy, men feel it the moment they meet her. She doesn't fall for words. She watches for actions. She doesn't get swept away by attention. She measures consistency. And most of all, she doesn't fear walking away from something that doesn't serve her. Not because she doesn't care, but because she knows caring for herself must come first. This mindset is rare and it changes everything. Most people are operating from a place of need. A need to be chosen, a need to be liked, a need to feel like they're enough in someone else's eyes. But when you step away from that need and instead operate from a place of choice, you become powerful. You no longer beg for clarity. You are the clarity. A man can sense when a woman isn't emotionally chasing, when she's present but not attached, when she's engaged but not invested in a fantasy. It's not that she doesn't want love, it's that she's not willing to lose herself for it. That difference makes her magnetic. She becomes a challenge not because she's playing hard to get, but because she's already fulfilled. She's not impressed by potential. She's not swayed by charm. She doesn't mistake attention for affection or presence for effort. She knows how to separate what feels good from what's actually good for her. When a woman reaches that level of emotional independence, she becomes the mirror. She reflects where a man is in his own emotional growth. She doesn't need to test him. Her presence alone invites him to either step up or step back, because she doesn't chase, she doesn't force, she lets the energy speak for itself. Men find themselves thinking about her longer, wondering about her more. Not because she's trying to be mysterious, but because she's not trying to be anything at all. She just is. She's in her own lane, doing her own work, living her own life. And that makes her irresistible to someone who is ready for something real. She doesn't play games. She doesn't manipulate. She simply shows up as she is, and she lets other people reveal who they are through how they choose to show up. That calm observation, that stillness, it's powerful. It makes people take her seriously. It makes men reconsider their approach. Because she's not reacting emotionally to every message, every silence, every shift in tone. She's watching, she's feeling, but she's not attaching her worth to any of it. If someone pulls away, she doesn't chase. If someone shows up inconsistently, she doesn't argue. She just decides quietly, firmly, and she moves accordingly. That's not coldness. That's emotional maturity. That's what happens when someone has gone through the pain, learnt the lesson, and risen above the chaos. She's not numb. She's wise. And what she understands is this: love is not about proving anything. It's not about convincing someone to stay. It's about choosing each other from a place of wholeness, not desperation. This emotional detachment doesn't make her distant, it makes her selective. She sees through distractions. She spots red flags early, and she doesn't waste time trying to repaint them. She knows that the right person won't make her question her sanity, her worth, or her intuition. The right person will make her feel more grounded, not less. And so she waits, not passively, but patiently. She waits while building her life. She waits while nurturing her purpose. She waits while becoming the kind of woman she would admire. And in doing so, she naturally filters out anyone who isn't aligned. Men may not always be able to explain what it is about her that draws them in, but they feel it. They feel her peace, her presence, her self-possession. She's not reactive, she's responsive. She's not demanding, she's discerning. And that subtle shift in energy makes all the difference. Because she doesn't just want love, she wants the right kind of love. The kind that adds value without draining her. The kind that supports her growth, not stunts it. The kind that recognizes her emotional depth, not exploits it. So she stays centered. She listens to her instincts. She walks away when her peace is threatened. And she doesn't look back to see if she's being followed. She's not playing a role. She's living her truth. And that truth is undeniable. Emotional detachment in its highest form is an act of love. It says, I care deeply, but I won't abandon myself for connection. It says, I'm open, but I'm not dependent. It says, I love, but I won't beg. That's the mindset that transforms how men respond. Because the woman who doesn't need him to complete her becomes the woman he never wants to lose. There's a powerful shift that happens when a woman no longer looks to a man to fill a space inside her. When she stops placing her happiness, her confidence, and her sense of identity in the hands of someone else. That shift changes not only how she moves through the world, but how men respond to her. When a woman is fulfilled on her own, her energy is different. She doesn't enter a relationship from a place of lack. She's not waiting to be rescued, completed, or saved. She's already whole, already lit up by her own passions, her friendships, her work, and the way she loves herself. That kind of woman is rare and deeply attractive because a man can feel the difference. He can tell when she's not depending on him to create her joy. He feels that she's not sitting around waiting for a call to feel validated. She's not putting her life on pause to be available. She's not constantly watching and measuring every little move to determine whether she's enough. She's living fully, and in that fullness, she becomes magnetic. Men are not drawn to need, they are drawn to presence. And when a woman is grounded in her own world, she creates space for a different kind of man to step in. Not the man who wants control, not the man who needs to be chased or praised to feel important, but the man who is ready to contribute, not complete. The man who finds joy in witnessing her shine, not dimming her light. The truth is, no one wants to feel like they are responsible for someone else's emotional well-being. A healthy man doesn't want to be your source of purpose. He wants to add to a purpose that already exists. He doesn't want to fill your life. He wants to be part of the life you're already thriving in. And when he meets a woman who knows how to be alone but chooses to be with him, that's powerful. That's not a relationship built on dependency. That's a relationship built on choice. She doesn't need him, but she sees value in letting him in. Not out of fear, not out of loneliness, but from a place of strength. This changes the entire dynamic of a connection. Because when a woman doesn't need a man to be her happiness, she stops tolerating anything that disrupts it. She doesn't stay in relationships out of fear of being alone. She doesn't compromise her peace to keep someone around. She's willing to walk away, not because she's heartless, but because she knows her heart is worth protecting. She doesn't measure her worth based on how much attention she gets. She doesn't shapeshift to be more desirable. She doesn't settle for almost, or maybe, or someday. She's not impressed by bare minimum effort. Her life is already rich, and anyone who wants to be in it needs to enrich it, not complicate it. And men feel that standard. They feel the emotional maturity, the self-trust, the quiet confidence. There's no desperation, there's no pressure, just clarity. A woman like that isn't swayed by temporary highs. She looks for alignment, for shared values, for consistency. And when it's not there, she doesn't force it. That kind of energy filters out the wrong men without needing to say a word. The ones who want control, they move on. The ones looking to play games, they don't stay. Because she's not chasing, fixing, or proving. She's not here to audition for love. She's already chosen herself. And for the man who is ready, who has done the inner work, that kind of woman is the most refreshing presence in the world. Because she's not leaning on him, she's walking beside him. She brings peace, not pressure. Inspiration, not insecurity. Curiosity, not chaos. She's fully alive in her own world, and she invites him into that world not because she needs him to complete it, but because she enjoys sharing it. That's the difference between needing a relationship and being ready for one. One drains, the other builds. When a woman becomes the source of her own joy, she shifts the vibration of every connection she enters. She no longer waits to be chosen, she chooses. She no longer fears rejection, she respects redirection. She no longer asks, am I enough? She asks, is this aligned with who I am becoming? That mindset is not only empowering, it's freeing. Because now, she's not stuck in the trap of trying to be liked. She's not wasting time on people who can't meet her emotionally. She's not bending to be more acceptable. She's standing tall in her truth and letting the right energy respond to that truth. And men do respond, not to perfection, but to peace. Not to performance, but to presence. Not to a woman who needs them, but to a woman who wants partnership from a place of abundance. That's where the best relationships are born, in that space where both people are whole, and they come together to amplify, not repair, to grow, not fix, to share life, not escape from it. So if you're a woman walking through life waiting for someone to finally love you enough to feel complete, it's time to turn inward. Find what makes you feel alive without anyone else in the room. Build a life you're proud of. Fall in love with your own company and trust that when you do, you won't have to chase love ever again. Because the right man won't be intimidated by your independence. He'll be drawn to it. Not because he wants to own it, but because he wants to be a part of it. Because real men aren't afraid of strong women, they're inspired by them. And when you no longer need him for your happiness, he'll want to be the man who adds to it every single day.